Okay, glad to be back. Sorry about that. Freaking disaster. But somebody just fixed my cord for me, so it was broken. All right, so let's get right back into it. The woman who saw the Sound of Freedom movie suddenly gets more aware of her surroundings and catches Predator taking photos of little girls bending over and confronts him. All right, so let's check this video out.
Well, I usually don't come on here to talk about things, but I did want to talk about this. Yesterday, I posted that I went to go see the movie Sound of Freedom, and it was an amazing movie. I recommend everybody go watch that. It really, really opens your eyes about what really goes on behind the scenes and something that is so prevalent here in the US. But definitely recommend you go see it. But today, something happened that I really just did not expect at all, and it relates to this movie. Today, I went to the mall to go pick up something to eat. Me and my mom, we went over there really quick to do some shopping, and we went to Auntie Anne's. And my mom already got out of the line; she already paid, and I stayed back to grab some napkins and some straws and things like that. And as I grabbed it and I was walking, there was a man that was behind the line, and he was taking out his phone to take a picture. And I noticed he had his flash on, and it was pointed towards this bench where these two young girls were at. And so I noticed that his flash was on. So I stood right in front of the camera, and I was like, you know what? I don't know if he's ignoring me or seeing me. So I decided to go behind him, and he looked towards my mom. He's like, oh no, it's my daughter. It's my daughter. So he sticks out his phone again and starts taking a picture of this young girl. The girl was with her friend, and she was laying her head down on her friend's lap, and her behind was sticking out. So her face was towards the seat or the bench. And so her whole behind was out, and she was in a short black skirt. And this girl, I would say she's in between the ages of probably like 13, 15. She looked super young. And he kept saying, like, oh, that's my daughter, that's my daughter. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to say anything yet because I don't know what the situation is. So I go up to these young girls. The guy walks away. I go up to the young girl, and I'm like, hey, is that guy right there? Really, I try to like make it not as big of a deal. Like I was saying, I didn't want to make a big deal of it because, this girl might be scared. I don't know what it is, but I'm like, hey, is that guy your dad? And she's like, no, why? I'm like, he just took a couple pictures of you while you were laying down. And she looked at me in the face of shock. She's like, oh my gosh, really? She looks at her friend. She looks back at me. And I'm like, yeah, I wanted to just tell you because he was taking pictures of you. And I really wanted to let you know and make sure and see if that guy is your dad or not. And she was like, oh my gosh, thank you for telling me. Can I hug you? I'm like, yes, of course. And I told her, I was like, hey, if you see him around, please tell somebody, just be aware, be alert that he's in the mall and potentially doing this to somebody else or to you. And so we ended the conversation, and I was like, I think I'm gonna go after this guy. I'm gonna go confront him. And so I'm like, Mom, pick up your phone, record. And I'm chasing this guy down in the mall. I'm trying to get as close to him as possible, and he's not too far, but I had to walk a little bit faster for me to get to him. And so I finally catch up to the guy, and I confront him. I'm like, hey, sir, that girl over there is not your daughter. I just asked her, and that is not your. So seeing that happen today was honestly just really shocking. I don't think I've ever been in a situation where I've seen this happen. So the fact that I saw this movie and it happened today, it's honestly really crazy. And I believe that the Lord really just opened my eyes through that movie and just opened my eyes in general to, keep an eye out. Can happen so easily. And for those who live in Florida, this happens way more often than you think. And that the U.S. is like the number way more often than you think. And that the U.S. is like the number one destination for
I don't know about you guys, but it drives me absolutely insane when you're watching a video and the words don't go with the mouthing. It drives me crazy. So I don't know why it's like that, but it is.
the trafficking of children and things like that. And so, if you are able to protect these kids, do so. Say something. Call the cops. Do something because these people can't get away with it, and we need to protect these children. We really do. because who knows what he was going to do with that picture. It could have been anything. And if I was in that position, like, I would be mortified if someone didn't. So the message here is keep an eye out. You really never know, and we can't allow this stuff to continue to keep happening. We need to protect these kids whenever, wherever we can. And so, once again, if you see something, say something, do something about it, because we need to protect these kids as much as possible. So I'm going to share the video, a little bit of me confronting the guy, and I hope this guy could some sort of way inspire somebody to watch this movie, so it can open your eyes to the reality that we live in. So yeah.
No, they're over here.
No,
I'm gonna tell them.
I talked to her.
Yes.
It's not your daughter.
I know. And I'm gonna delete those.
No, delete the picture right now, or I'm gonna call the cops.
No, go ahead.
No, I will call the cops. You took at least 1 or 2 pictures. That was not your daughter.
No.
You can go ahead and delete all those pictures.
There you go.
Yeah, go into your deleted and delete that too, because I know you can go back to it.
Come on, guy. Delete the pictures. What the hell are you doing?
I'm not there.
No, reload it.
Not
It
there.
better be deleted.
Yeah.
Because if I see you do that again, I will call the cops.
Yeah, if you see something, say something. Because there's way too many freaks out there. There's way too many perverts out there waiting to prey on children. For God's sakes. I would have called the cops too, but she did do something. She didn't do nothing. AMC Theater AC suddenly kicks off where The Sound of Freedom was playing, sending everyone home.
So, don't know if any one of you have already been to see The Sound of Freedom, but my friends and I just walked out. Hi. And we are curious what your experiences were in the movie theater, because we pre-ordered our tickets, paid for them, they were claimed, got the link sent, and this is an AMC theater in Pineville, North Carolina. Some point today, the tickets got refunded to my friend and we couldn't figure out why. So we come anyways to the theater after dinner and they're like, oh, well, we refunded all the tickets because there's no air conditioning in our theaters. Okay, whatever. We don't care. Are you still showing it? Yeah, you can still watch it. So we get to thinking, why did they not send out a notice in the email saying, hey, we refunded your tickets because there's no air conditioning. And we just are curious why didn't they let us know? There was no one in that theater. There was us 4 and 4 other people, 8 people in the theater on a Friday night. There was air conditioning in the lobby. There was air conditioning in the hallways. There was air conditioning in the bathrooms, not the theaters. They don't have the bartender or anything in the theater. I smell something stinky, and I think it's shit.
Insane. They really don't want anyone to see it. I had to try 3 different theaters. That is crazy. I know in my area, they're only showing it in 2 theaters, and they're like 2 hours apart. And that's it. Those are the only 2 showing it. It's so insane. Okay. Now, this is a weather modification plane, aka a chemtrail plane. And you know, they've been telling us for years, oh, there's no such thing as chemtrails. There's no such thing that's contrail. That comes naturally from. Okay, so check this out. Atmospheric Research Platform. Weather Modification International. Weather modification. Can it get any more clear for, dum-dums that want to say, oh, that's just a crazy conspiracy theory. Those aren't real. Well, it done said weather modification on the side of the damn plane.
This is
But don't worry, y'all. Just because the sky looks blue to you doesn't mean it's actually blue. They're gonna tell you it's green. Oh, Casey, I played 2 previews of it, 2 of the trailers on this channel. Oh man. I know, I'm dying to go see it too. Okay, WEF says CBDCs must be implanted under your skin if you want to participate in society. The WEF has declared that all citizens must be implanted with a CBDC microchip in the very near future in order to be able to fully participate in society and do basic things such as purchase food and water. Now, again, I have been saying this for years to people. And again, people don't want to listen. They think you're crazy. According to Professor Richard Werner, in the very near future, citizens will need to use the latest technology, such as a CBDC chip implant, in order to access their bank accounts. Professor Richard A. Werner is an economist and professor of banking and finance. He is known as the proponent of a new post-crisis monetary policy he called quantitative easing, which he proposed in Japan in 1995 as chief economist of a British investment bank. I had my headphones on this, and it's so hard. It sounds so funny. He has also worked as a researcher at the University of Oxford, the Bank of Japan, the Development Bank of Japan, and the Asian Development Bank. He is involved in supporting the establishment of not-for-profit community banks through an initiative called Local First CIC. At the Amsterdam Science Summit 2022, Professor Werner gave a lecture on central bank digital currencies and the 2030 Agenda. At the sidelines of this year's Amsterdam Science Summit, he spoke to Ivor Cummins about CBDCs and how high inflation has been orchestrated by central banks to further their agenda. There are 2 aspects to QE monetary policies that Professor Werner proposed, QE1 and QE2. QE1 is for the central bank to step in and purchase the non-performing assets in the banking system. The central bank buys up non-performing assets at face value and the problem is solved. Banks have a strong balance sheet, but that won't be enough to get banks to increase credit. So Professor Werner proposed QE2, which allows the central bank to force the banks to create more money and push it into the economy. This would be accomplished with central banks buying assets, e.g., property from the non-bank sectors. The money the non-bank sectors receive from the sale of the property would then be deposited into the seller's bank account. When an economy is experiencing deflation, that's how central banks can push money into the economy directly. QE1 was followed by Japan in the 1980s, but the USA disallowed Japan subsequently using QE2. And then out of the blue and at the wrong time, QE2 was adopted by the US Federal Reserve and other central banks in March of 2020. The intention of adopting QE2 at that time was to cause high inflation. Why? To move economies into a CBDC system. You have to think of CDBCs as a control system or a permit system, not a currency. It's a conditional currency based on your actual getting that permit. Now, if you happen to be some kind of critic of government policy or a critic of central banks, this could be difficult. You know, kind of like if they go through some of our Twitter feeds, it'd be very difficult. Or if you dare to step out of the 15-minute city zone, you know, maybe you'll find that, oh, my CBDC is not working. Of course, these are the things we've seen already in China. There's plenty of videos where somebody tries to use it to buy a ticket and it doesn't work because his social credit scores are low. And effectively, there's no real right to appeal. With very few people controlling the very many, the controllers will use computers and algorithms to run the system. If you appeal the blocking of CDBCs, you'll be dealing with automated responses.
Mom,
What?
you can become Mace.
I'm not, Mace, I'm not out there right now. Ask your dad.
No.
Professor Werner explained that the central planners, as he calls them, orchestrate inflation to cover up changes to banking systems. For example, in the 1970s, high inflation was orchestrated to cover up the move of the gold-backed US dollar to the petrodollar. And the high inflation we've experienced in 2021 and 2022 has been orchestrated to cover up the move from petrodollar to the CBDCs. In March 2020, the Federal Reserve and other key central banks adopted QE2, a recommendation for deflation or a shrinking economy. In March 2020, economies weren't shrinking, but the Federal Reserve adopted QE2 and bought up assets from non-banks, forcing banks to create credit. It was very clear it was going to create inflation. This was not an error in judgment. It was intentional. Professor Werner explained. It's a very specific policy that is very rarely taken. Proof that this was a deliberate action, Professor Werner said, was that just before the Big C in August of 2019, there was a conference in Jackson Hole of the annual Central Bankers Conference, but it invited BlackRock, the big asset manager, and BlackRock made a proposal. They said there will be another crisis, but this time we should create inflation. They never explain why, they just say we must create inflation. And here's how we're going to do it. And they cited my proposal without mentioning my name, of course. And there's one more factor. The Federal Reserve hired BlackRock in March of 2020 to buy assets. QE was for a deflationary situation, but the way they were using it had to cause inflation. There was no doubt. And they knew it because they even said it. So this current inflation is entirely intentionally created. Now, this is a quote. So this current inflation is entirely intentionally created by the central banks, by the central planners. So how are we going to punish them for this? Oh, let's give them more powers. Let's give them unprecedented powers over everything, over life on Earth through central bank digital currencies. The true reason I think why they wanted this inflation, because that is to cover up essentially the disintegration of the petrodollar and move to the new system, which they want to be the CBDC based. The chip implanted. Hannah, get Oreo. At the moment, there's talk about CBDCs being used via phone-based apps. Yes, that is the initial phase. But what was already ready around 2015 is the ultimate goal. What they really want, apparently, I was told by a central banker, is CBDC. Looks like a small grain of rice, and they want to put it under your skin, which is my view of a violation of human dignity. And they realize there's a hurdle to get people to accept this. So they're using crisis, disrupt, and unemployment to introduce universal basic income to soften the public up to accepting a CBDC chip implanted under their skin. You will get 2,000 euros into your account every month. But of course, to run this efficiently, they'll say, we need to use the latest technology, so you need the CBDC chip implant. It's real. It's happening. And if you have a bad social credit score, if you disagree with a lot of what the beast system goes for, then guess what? You don't get anything. They're taking it away. Thank you, Amber. I appreciate you speaking about these topics. We need more people that are brave enough to speak out on these atrocities. Okay, so let's move on. Okay. Now, have y'all heard of California bill? Where is it? AB 2223. Okay, let's go over this. California introduces new bill that would allow mothers to their babies up to 7 days after birth. And now, okay, so they're saying that was misinformation that was going around. But I'm going to read this to you, and you make up your own mind on what you think this bill actually stands for. So if your time is short, here's the gist. The bill is meant to ensure that people are not investigated, prosecuted, or incarcerated for ending a pregnancy, experiencing pregnancy loss, or for losing a baby after it is born due to a pregnancy-related cause, according to Assembly member Buffy Wicks, the lawmaker who introduced it. Women in California have been prosecuted for delivering stillborns after using controlled substances. Wicks said she amended the language to specify that, that it would only prevent people from being prosecuted if a post-birth death occurred because of a pregnancy-related cause. Okay, now let's go into this a little bit, okay? Okay, the claim was taken from a screenshot of under California AB 2223. Now you tell me what you take from this. A mother will be shielded from civil and criminal charges for any actions or omissions related to her pregnancy, the post read. These actions include not only abortion in any stage of pregnancy, but also perinatal death. Perinatal death is defined as the death of a newborn up to 7 days or more. Okay, now let me read that part again. A mother will be shielded from civil and criminal charges. These actions include not only abortion through any stage of pregnancy, but also their newborn's death up to 7 days or more. They will not be liable for civil or criminal charges. Assembly Bill 2223 is a real bill. The bill intends to ensure that parents are not investigated, persecuted, or incarcerated for ending a pregnancy or experiencing pregnancy loss. Broadly, the bill would end a requirement that a coroner must investigate deaths related to or following self-induced or criminal abortions. It would also prevent using a coroner's statement on a certificate of fetal death to pursue a criminal or civil case. So hold up. So not only are you not allowed to use the coroner's or certificate of fetal death to pursue criminal case charges on a mother up to 7 days or more after birth if something were to happen to her baby. And like Kamala said, they have to reduce the population. How can we do that when so many people are having babies? Well, let's see. Why don't we make a bill that says that they won't be liable or charged with anything if something just happens to happen to their newborn baby? I mean, you guys look up the bill for yourself. The bill would also add the following language to the Health and Safety Code. Notwithstanding any other law, a person shall not be subject to civil or criminal liability or penalty, or otherwise deprived of their rights based on their actions or omissions with respect to their pregnancy or actual, potential, or alleged pregnancy outcome. Shall not be subject to civil or criminal liability or penalty, or otherwise deprived of their rights based on their actions. So you won't be charged based on your actions or your omissions. Okay, let's read this. Ivy pointed to the cases of 2 California women, Chelsea Becker and Adora Perez. Both were prosecuted and incarcerated after delivering stillborn babies because officials ruled that the methamphetamine found in the fetus's system caused their deaths. So now that's legal. Now that's fine. That's totally fine, they're saying. A judge later dismissed Becker's murder charge, and though Perez struck a plea agreement, a judge overthrew it and the resulting 11-year prison sentence, saying it was unlawful. In addition to avoiding such cases, Ivy said the bill is intended to protect parents who lose a baby after delivery as a result of a pregnancy-related issue. What do you guys think? Let me see what you guys are saying over here. Oh, yes. Yeah, there are a lot of those camps everywhere. But, yeah. It's crazy. It is insane. I mean, can they show any more that they don't care, right? Can they show you any more that they're not for you, that they do not care about anybody? It's insane. Okay. But if you guys want to go read more on that bill, it's California Bill AB 2223. All right. Family says missing 14-year-old girl found in Camp Pendleton Barracks was sold for ABC. Oh, they're probably going to freaking copyright me for this, but we'll give it a go.
Explosive story out of Camp Pendleton where a missing 14-year-old girl has finally been found and a Marine has been taken into custody in connection with her disappearance.
That girl's family now alleging she was trafficked and sold to a Marine for sex. Our Leanne Suter joining us live in studio with the latest details. Leanne?
Michelle and Jory, shocking details and allegations coming from the victim's family, who says that teen was sold for sex. Camp Pendleton authorities now investigating.
Authorities confirming this picture posted on social media showing the moment the Marine was arrested as authorities investigate a possible human trafficking case at Camp Pendleton after a missing 14-year-old girl was found on base.
Just trying to give an update. My family and I are doing okay. Would just like to start off by thanking everyone for boosting this video. I appreciate everyone trying to bring awareness to this incident.
The teen's aunt taking to social media to talk about the case and concerns about possible retaliation from the military. The woman says her niece has learning disabilities and was allegedly sold for sex. The 14-year-old's grandmother reported her missing on June 13th to the San Diego Sheriff's Department. She told investigators the young girl who had run away before but always returned home quickly went missing the week before.
I would also like to please ask for respect for my family.
On June 28th, the teen was located inside the barracks at Camp Pendleton. Since the base is federal property, Naval Criminal Investigative Services is handling the investigation with the assistance of the Sheriff's Department and San Diego Human Trafficking Task Force. The victim's family vowing to continue their fight for answers.
I will not rest until the whole world knows, and those responsible are held accountable and justice is served.
Camp Pendleton officials say as of Thursday, the Marine had not been charged and remains in custody of his command.
How is that even possible that he has not been arrested and not been charged? I mean, for God's sakes, there's more trafficking going on, you know, and these people just are getting away with it. They're just walking around, getting away with it, living their life. So it's upsetting, but I mean, anybody who does that or treats children like that or does that to children or puts even children in that position for that to happen to them, karma will come back, this side or the other. Okay, see, you're good. Don't even worry about it. I understand. Okay. What, honey? Okay. Sorry about that. You guys have got to stop going in and out every 2 minutes. The air is on. So stop. Turn it on. All right, I wanted to pull this up. So this was a worksheet that a child was given at school. I'll read this to you. It says, Robin feels like he, she, they is a different gender from Robin's biological sex. The biological sex Robin was born as. Robin might be described as, and then the kid puts in their answer. Chris has had a boyfriend and a girlfriend before. Chris enjoyed spending time with both people. Chris is attracted to a person he, she, they think of as special without worrying about their gender. Chris might be described as. Lori was born with female body parts. Lori is very happy with her long-term boyfriend, Gary. Lori might be described as. Ashley was born with male body parts. Ashley isn't comfortable being described as a boy and has decided to be a girl since last met. Ashley might be described as. And the kids put in their answers. They put in their answers here. Are you insane? Can you guys, believe that this is a sheet, a school sheet that is being given to children? This is the kind of work that your kids are learning and doing in school. It is freaking mind blowing. And so if one of my kids brought home a worksheet like that, I'd have wrote on the bottom, if a teacher gives a child this kind of work, they might be described as mentally unstable. And I had her hand it back in. See how she'd have liked that? It's crazy. Instead of science and math, schools are teaching these nonsense labels to 10-year-olds. Schools are a place for education, not sexualization. There is no logical reason why a child needs to know about any sexuality labels. Isn't that insane? Is there not one person that would, be uncomfortable or unhappy with your child bringing home this type of work? It's lunacy. I can't believe teachers are on board with this. I know. I can't believe parents let it happen. I honestly can't. Like, there's so many options for parents as far as schooling goes. Why they would put up with this is freaking beyond me. You know, the whole world, I mean, it's a freaking disaster. It is. It is a disaster with people going after the children, whether it to be to sexualize them, whether it be to groom them, whether it be to traffic them, whether it be to, assault them, whether it be to brainwash them. Children are just under attack every which way. And parents are letting it happen because they don't want to be labeled as a or they don't want to be transphobic, homophobic. They don't want to be, labeled as a bigot. They don't want to be labeled as anything. So they're too afraid to say anything. And those are just the ones that know it's wrong and go along with it anyway. There's a lot of them out there that are brainwashed just as bad as the kids are. It's craziness to me. And you've got, whole cities where cops are not going to come and help you. You've got, weather modification airplanes flying around spraying chemtrails in the sky, and then that say weather modification airplane on the side, and you got your government telling you that's a conspiracy. It doesn't happen. It's not real. They want you to implant chips under your skin and go along with a social credit score. And if you don't agree with what they say, and you don't agree with their agenda, and you go against that, they'd go through my Twitter feed and be like, she's canceled. We ain't even going to give her anything. I mean, it's total craziness. You're in a place where cops can just get away with shooting your dog that's running away from them and not be charged. You got soccer coaches that are going after kids and abusing them. And it's just terrible, It's not good. And you got people that just want to put their head in the sand and pretend like we live in a world full of rainbows, and butterflies. And that's not reality. But these things need to be talked about. It's not the most popular thing, but it is very freaking important. Teach your kids to know how to protect themselves. Teach your kids different things that they could use to get out of a bad situation. Different techniques, different ideas. Run your kids through drills. Me and Chad have been talking about that. It's such a smart thing to do. Because having an unprepared child and having them in the real world is the worst, dumbest thing you could do. Is to let your kids go out there into the world and don't give them anything to protect themselves. We do what we can do. It's hard to be a parent today. There's just shit waiting around every corner. I get it. But thank you guys for coming back. I know it was such a disaster earlier with the court and everything, and then Bella wouldn't shut up. So I'm glad you guys came back and I could finish this one off. But I'm going to end this one here. We actually have a bunch of people over. They're outside and it's company. And so I want to go and, see what's going on out there, and all the kids are out there and everything. So please hit that thumbs up and please consider subbing to the channel. If you want to become a member of the family, we would love to have you. Anybody wants to do anything else, links are all down in the description below. I love you guys. Stay strong, stay healthy, stay safe. Keep asking those hard questions and keep spreading that light. I will see you guys next time.